Welcome, everyone. Today we are taking a deep dive into musical motifs. You know those little bits of melody you just can't get out of your head?
Right, like those earworms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to figure out what makes them tick, how they're used, and get this, we're even going to look at Roman mosaics to help us understand them better.
You heard that right, mosaics. Might seem a little out there, but trust me, there's a connection.
I'm intrigued already.
Yeah.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a musical motif?
Well, think of a motif like a musical DNA strand or a fingerprint, if you will. It's a short, distinct sequence of notes, like a tiny musical idea.
Oh, so like a building block.
Exactly. And these building blocks, they can be incredibly powerful even when they're short and simple. Like take the Jaws theme, for instance.
Oh yeah, just two notes, right?
2 notes is all it takes to send shivers down your spine. Or how about that iconic 5-note sequence from Mission Impossible?
Those are some seriously quetchy motifs.
Absolutely. But their importance goes beyond just being catchy. They actually play a huge role in shaping the structure and emotional impact of a piece of music.
So it's not just about repeating them, it's how they're repeated.
That's the key. Composers use motifs to create unity, build tension, and guide the listener's emotional journey through the piece. And one of the ways they do this is through something called transposition.
Transposition. Sounds kind of technical.
It's actually simpler than it sounds. It basically means taking that motif and moving it up or down the musical scale.
Oh, okay. So you could take that Jaws theme, move it to a different pitch, and it would still be recognizable.
Absolutely. It would retain its essential character, just like a picture stays the same, whether it's enlarged or shrunk.
Interesting. So the image is the same, just on a different scale.
Precisely. And composers use this technique for a bunch of reasons, creating variations on a theme, modulating to different keys, even building dramatic tension.
Cool. I'm starting to see how much depth there is to these little motifs.
Oh, there's a whole world within them. But, it makes you wonder, how do composers actually write this stuff down? Do they, scribble these musical ideas on napkins?
Yeah, good question. I mean, music is an art, but there's got to be some method to the madness, right?
Well, napkins might work in a pinch, but luckily, over the centuries, some pretty clever systems for notating music have evolved.
Oh, right, like sheet music and all that.
Exactly. Some of the most common methods include rhythmic notation, which is all about the timing of the notes. Then you've got graphic scores, which use visual symbols to represent sounds.
Those can look pretty wild, almost like modern art.
Yeah, I've seen those. Pretty far out.
And then there's letter notation,
Yeah.
which, as you might guess, uses letters to indicate different pitches.
Okay, so lots of ways to capture these musical ideas on paper. But earlier you mentioned Roman mosaics. Now, how on earth do those tie into musical motifs? I'm having a hard time picturing the connection between ancient tiles and music.
All right, so think of a mosaic as a visual analogy for a musical composition.
Okay, I'm listening. Each little tile is like an individual note, and the way they're arranged creates patterns, visual rhythms even.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. So just like a motif gives structure to music, those repeating patterns in the mosaic bring a sense of unity and beauty.
Exactly, you got it. And the different colors and shapes of the tiles, well, they could represent different instruments or musical ideas. It's like a visual symphony.
So the overall pattern of the mosaic is like the structure of a piece of music.
You're getting it. And remember how we talked about transposing a motif in music?
Yeah, moving it up or down the scale.
Well, you can do the same thing visually with the mosaic pattern. You can shift it around without changing the basic design.
Wow, that's a pretty cool connection. So both music and mosaics, they use these repeating patterns, these building blocks, to create something bigger and more complex.
Exactly. And it really highlights how seemingly unrelated fields can offer such fascinating insights into one another.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes and ears to the power of motifs. It's amazing how much depth and complexity they hold.
It's true. They're like little musical seeds that can blossom into incredible works of art.
So next time you're listening to your favorite music, I challenge you to listen for those recurring patterns, those motifs. See how they change, how they make you feel. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Absolutely. Happy listening, everyone.
And that's a wrap for today's deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.